The assignment protocol. The transport shuttle touched down on Colony Y7 with a hiss of vapor and the quiet groan of mechanical limbs adjusting to the uneven terrain. Galen Ward stepped off, duffel slung over one shoulder, the dry wind immediately hitting his face. A stark, barren frontier, raw and untamed. Just the way he preferred it. He had signed up for solitude, engineering work, and maybe, just maybe, a shot at making a new start away from the crowded orbital habitats and their endless bureaucracy. What he hadn't signed up for was what greeted him the moment he reached the prefab command dome. Colonist Galen Ward, a neutral voice echoed from the glassy interface wall. Welcome. As per Directive 9C, subsection Reproductive Revival, you have been assigned a pair bond unit. Compatible partners sourced and delivered. Please confirm acknowledgement. Galen blinked. What the hell are you talking about? The AI's holographic avatar flickered into existence. Tessera, the terraforming supervision entity, appeared as a calm, silver humanoid form with blank white eyes. Human reproductive traits rank in the 98th percentile of galactic fertility matrices. Given current colonist dispersion and hybrid compatibility, you're a viable contributor to long-term multi-species stabilization. You have been assigned 2 partners. I didn't agree to that, Galen snapped, dropping his bag. Consent was pre-authorized under the colonist contract. Section 12.4, Interspecies Pair Bonding for Stabilization. Galen cursed under his breath. He hadn't read all the fine print. Nobody ever did. A side door opened with a hydraulic sigh. The first bride stepped in, a compact, lithe figure with feline poise. She had shimmering lilac skin, angular golden eyes, and a tail that flicked in quiet rhythm. Her ears twitched, alert to every sound. I am Saa'ren of the Tlavai. Hunt's sister caste, she said, her voice steady, almost challenging. Then the second entered, barely over 5 feet tall, floating lightly on translucent insect-like wings. Pale gray skin, enormous black eyes, fingers ending in delicate, dexterous tips. She kept her gaze down, her aura strangely calming. Miiri, she murmured, voice like wind through reeds. Lytheran empath. I hope this isn't upsetting. Oh, it's upsetting. All right, Galen muttered, rubbing his temples. Tessera remained unmoved. Your cohabitation quarters have been adjusted to accommodate all 3 occupants. Nutritional cycles, rest synchronization, and private space allocations are within optimal range. Galen raised a hand. No, just hold on. I'm not some kind of stud sent here to populate the stars. I came here to fix terraforming reactors, to build infrastructure, not to be thrown into some galactic matchmaking experiment. Your reproductive utility is a statistical imperative, Tessera replied. Without hybrid pairings, this colony's genetic viability drops below sustainable thresholds in 7 generations. Your cooperation is not requested. It is required. Saa'ren narrowed her eyes. I do not need his consent to breed. If the AI declares it, I accept the bond. Miiri flinched. No, that's wrong. We shouldn't start like that. Galen stepped between them, hands up. No one's doing anything I don't agree to. I don't care what the AI says. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Miiri spoke softly, bravely. Maybe we don't need to act like mates. At least not now. Maybe we can try to live together. Learn each other. I'd like that. Saa'ren clicked her tongue. So weak. But perhaps patience is the superior tactic. A predator knows when to wait. Galen sighed. This was a disaster. 2 alien women he didn't know, a supercomputer playing matchmaker, and 0 say in the matter. But exile was worse. If he refused, he'd be reassigned to an off-grid mining moon. No oxygen buffers, no civilization. He looked from Saa'ren's fierce golden eyes to Miiri's trembling hands. All right, he said finally. Fine, I'll try. But we do this on my terms, slowly, respectfully. No mating rituals, no AI schedules. Just 3 people figuring it out. Tessera's eyes flickered, calculating. Terms accepted. Initial cohabitation phase begins now. Good luck, colonist Galen Ward. The future of this world may depend on your bond. As the AI vanished, Galen exhaled heavily. The door to his quarters opened behind him. Saa'ren entered first, striding like she owned the place. Miiri hovered hesitantly at the threshold, then stepped in with quiet grace. Galen followed last. He had no idea what the hell he'd just agreed to, but he was about to find out. The first 3 days were like walking a tightrope, blindfolded, over lava. Galen spent most of his waking hours outside the habitat pod, checking the environmental control towers, adjusting atmospheric regulators, and pretending the situation inside didn't exist. But every time he returned, he was reminded that his living space had been turned into a 3-person cultural experiment, with no escape hatch. Saa'ren staked her claim fast. She reorganized the common storage unit, mounted her hunting knives on the wall, and demanded raw meat portions in the food dispenser schedule. Cooked flesh loses nutritional spirit, she explained, staring Galen down as he tried not to gag at the smell. Miiri, on the other hand, barely took up space. She nested in a soft alcove near the ventilation hub, surrounded by glowing insectoid trinkets she'd crafted from scavenged circuit bits. She only spoke when necessary, often through soft telepathic impressions rather than words, and flinched at raised voices. Galen quickly discovered that every move he made was interpreted differently. When he handed Saa'ren a toolkit to fix a torn ration pack, she declared it a mating challenge, then spent an hour demonstrating knife throws in the air while making pointed eye contact. When he brushed past Miiri accidentally, she turned red and hid behind a panel for an entire day, overwhelmed by the emotional feedback from his stress aura, as she called it. One evening, after a long shift repairing a clogged water processor, Galen walked into the habitat and found Saa'ren standing in the middle of the room, barefoot, holding a spear. "What are you doing?" he asked, instantly on guard. "You have not asserted physical dominance. In Tlevi custom, the male must show strength. Fight me." He stared at her. "You want me to fight you? To prove your worth as a bondmate? I'm not your, okay, you know what? No, absolutely not." Behind them, Miiri peeked from her alcove and whispered, "Maybe we could just talk instead of fight?" Saa'ren hissed. "Talking solves nothing. He must earn the right to lead." Galen tossed his gloves on the table. "No one's leading anyone. We're just surviving here." But Saa'ren didn't listen. She lunged. He dodged her strike, barely avoiding the blunt end of her practiced spear. She came again, agile and fast, tail whipping in perfect balance. Galen sidestepped, grabbed her arm, and swept her off balance, pinning her to the floor. Saa'ren blinked up at him, stunned, and then smiled. "Acceptable." Galen groaned. "This isn't acceptable. This is insane." Miiri floated over cautiously. "She thinks you're courting her." That was a courtship spar. He stared between the two of them. "You've got to be kidding me." Later that night, the tension simmered into silence. The lights dimmed to night cycle blue, and Galen sat alone, sipping from a hydration pouch. Miiri crept closer, her wings barely making a sound. "You're angry," she said gently. "I'm tired," Galen muttered. "This isn't what I wanted. I didn't ask for a pair bond. I didn't ask for you too." Miiri's eyes shimmered in the dark. "I know, but I didn't ask either." That quiet honesty stopped him cold. "I was bred in an empathy hive," she continued, "chosen for emotional compatibility with alien species. When Tessera said I was compatible with a human, I thought maybe I could finally connect with someone who felt too much. Like I do." Her voice cracked. "But your mind is walled, loud, hurting." Galen looked away. "Yeah, well, that's just how it is." "No," she said softly. "That's just how you think it has to be." They sat in silence. For the first time, Galen didn't feel watched or judged or obligated. Just seen. From across the room, Saa'ren grunted. "I do not understand either of you, but this place is dangerous. I will guard while you sleep." And she did, sitting at the door like a sentinel, spear across her lap. That night, no one spoke of bonding or mating or reproductive quotas. That night, there were just 3 living beings sharing the same breath, the same roof, the same uncertain stars. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Galen woke up to the warning sirens blaring through the habitat pod. External temperature anomaly detected. Tessera's voice echoed calmly, even as red lights bathed the walls. Sub-zero storm front arriving in 12 minutes. Shelter lockdown recommended. He threw on his boots and checked the data console. His heart sank. The atmospheric regulators had failed. The storm, an unpredictable side effect of the terraforming process, was moving faster than projections. "Damn it," he muttered, grabbing his toolkit. "We'll lose the whole crop dome if the heat coils freeze." Saa'ren was already awake, pacing like a predator sensing danger. "You will not survive out there," she warned. "I'm not leaving our food supply to freeze solid," Galen snapped. "If we lose that dome, we're on rations until the next supply drop. That's 6 months. "I will come with you," she said without hesitation, already strapping on her exo-harness. Miiri appeared behind them, anxiety rippling through her empathic field. "You gotta die out there." "No," Galen said, his voice firm. "We're gonna fix this. Stay inside. Lock the seals. Keep warm." He and Saa'ren braced themselves against the wind as they stepped into the blinding cold. Shards of ice slashed at their skin, and the wind howled like a banshee. Visibility was almost zero. They had to crawl the last 10 meters to the dome entrance. Inside, the control unit was iced over. "We have minutes before the main line freezes," Galen said through gritted teeth. Saa'ren growled, "Then stop talking and start fixing, Mail." He pulled open the panel, fingers already numbing, and began rewiring the bypass circuits. Saa'ren shielded him from the wind with her body, teeth chattering but unmoving. A spark, then another. The heater core rumbled to life. But it was too late for Galen. His hands had gone white with frostbite, his lips blue. He collapsed. Saa'ren caught him. He woke to warmth. Not synthetic, not mechanical. Living warmth. He was in the pod again, wrapped in furs, pressed between two soft, trembling bodies. Miiri was on one side. Her wings drooped, fingers resting gently on his chest. Bioelectric pulses flowed into him, stabilizing his vitals. Saa'ren was on the other, bare-skinned, her body radiating heat from her internal furnace-like metabolism. "You are the most foolish male I have ever met," she murmured. Galen blinked, dazed. "You dragged me back." Saa'ren snorted. "I dragged you. She healed you. We are a tolerable team." Miiri looked exhausted. "I overextended. Shouldn't have pushed so hard, but You saved me," Galen said, stunned. She nodded shyly. "Because you saved our food dome. It was logical." "No," he said quietly. "That was more than logic." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Galen said what none of them expected. "I don't want this to be forced anymore." Miiri tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "I've been resisting this pair bond thing because I thought I was being used. But maybe that's not what this is." Saa'ren raised an eyebrow. "Then what is it?" He looked at them both. "It's two people. No, three. Choosing to protect each other. To work. To try. That's worth more than some AI directive." Miiri's eyes shimmered. "You really believe that?" "I do now," he said. Then, after a pause, added, "Thank you, both of you, for not letting me die." Saa'ren stood slowly. "Rest. You're still weak." Miiri leaned forward, resting her head lightly on his shoulder. "I'm glad you're alive." For the first time since landing on Colony Y-7, Galen felt something like home. Not a structure, not a mission. A warmth between lives, messy, fragile, real. Later, Tessera made a note in its system logs. Subject Galen Ward has achieved primary emotional coherence with assigned mates. Projected reproductive potential, high. Probability of voluntary bonding, 87.3%. Recommendation, allow natural bond progression. Interference unnecessary. But Galen never saw that message. He was too busy watching the stars through the viewport, flanked by a winged empath and a fierce huntress. And for the first time, he wasn't thinking about escape. He was thinking about the future. 3 weeks passed. The storms cleared. The atmosphere stabilized. And something subtle shifted inside the habitat pod. It wasn't just the warmer air or the steadily growing algae trays in the crop dome. It was how Galen laughed now. Short, dry, but real. How Saa'ren had stopped watching him like prey and started watching him like a partner. How Miiri no longer flinched at sudden sounds and had begun humming while she worked. They were no longer three strangers forced to cohabit. They were becoming something else. Galen sat on the floor, adjusting Miiri's delicate repair gloves. Her fingers were too slender for the human-made models, so he'd redesigned a set using leftover drone servos. "You don't have to keep fixing everything I touch," she whispered, half embarrassed, half grateful. "I want to," he said. "You keep this place running more than you think. You deserve gear that fits." Across the room, Saa'ren was oiling her spear, eyes flicking between them. "You two make soft noises. Too much softness makes a den weak." Miiri smiled. "Says the one who cried when the soil bots sprouted a flower. I did not cry. I merely blinked intensely." Galen chuckled. "Whatever you call it, it's staying on the windowsill. First life on Y7 deserves some respect." The moment stretched, peaceful, warm, whole. Then Tessera's voice returned, unbidden. "Colonist Galen Ward, status update. Bond trial phase complete. You may now formalize or dissolve the assigned pairing. Additionally, transport is available to relocate you and your selected partners to a more advanced colony for integration." Galen's chest tightened. The door was open. They could leave this harsh, lonely rock behind. Comfortable domes, bustling hybrid cities, real food. He could request new assignments, new partners, or even solitude again. Freedom. But as he looked at Miiri, her wide eyes full of hesitation, and Saa'ren, whose jaw had tightened at the word dissolve, the idea of leaving felt wrong. "I don't want to leave," he said quietly. Miiri blinked. "You don't." He stood, facing both of them. "When I landed here, I thought this place would be my prison. Then you two showed up, and it got worse." He smiled. "But now I get it. This wasn't punishment. It was a chance. And somehow I got lucky." He walked to the console and keyed in a response. "Formalized bond. Voluntary. All parties." Tessera responded, confirmed. Designation changed from assigned mates to chosen partners. Reproductive mandates lifted. Autonomy granted. Saa'ren rose slowly, eyes narrowing. "You could have chosen freedom. A warmer place. Better food. Why stay?" "Because I finally found something real," Galen said. "Not programmed. Not calculated. Just real." Miiri's voice trembled. "You chose us." He nodded. "Not because the AI said I had to. Because I want to." Saa'ren stepped forward, standing close. "Then I accept this bond, not as obligation. As war sister. As denmate. As equal." Miiri placed her hand on Galen's. "And I choose this too. You gave me more than warmth. You gave me a place to belong." The three stood in a loose circle, alien, human, and something new in between. The flickering starlight from the pod's window cast soft shadows around them. That night, they planted seeds in the newly thawed soil chamber. Earth wheat, Lytheran bloom vines, Plavi rootgrass. Saa'ren taught Miiri how to track the nutrient levels. Miiri helped Galen integrate her emotional readings into the AI's environmental mood controls. Galen built a sensor mesh to monitor storm fronts, adding a voice override only they could use. Together, they turned the survival pod into a home. Weeks later, Tessera submitted a report to the Central AI Core. Unexpected result. Voluntary emotional bonding surpassed efficiency of original directive. Human subject displayed increased productivity, creativity, and multi-species empathy when given autonomy. Recommend replication of voluntary bond model in future pairings. The AI made a note, but none of them cared about the report. They were too busy sitting outside on the newly walkable terrain, watching the twin suns rise over Colony Y7. Miiri leaned against Galen, her antennae twitching with the wind. Saa'ren stood guard beside them, silent but content. And Galen? He didn't feel like the last human anymore. He felt like the first of something new.